Good morning. My name is Ann Harrington. I am on the Board of Trustees. I am a pastoral care associate, and I am co-leader also of the archives team. Welcome to our service this morning. Unitarian Universalism encourages an open-ended search for meaning in life and a commitment to asking our values to shape our actions. We are a pluralistic religion that draws wisdom from many sources. We welcome all people into our beloved community of whatever age, race, class, ethnicity, physical ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or religious background. We're glad you're here. Enjoy the service.
Good morning. I believe the spotlight is on the 8th Principal Task Force. Do we have anything? Going once? Going twice? All right, I'm sure there's plenty of people who would love to talk to you about that on another day. Well, good morning. I'm Cece, so thanks for having me today. I wanted to open our reading today with, I think, one of the most famous spooky poems written by the bard himself, the Song of the Witches from Macbeth. Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard leg and howlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble, double, double toil and trouble, fire burn in cauldron bubble, cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. Join us as we light our chalice.
Warm like the truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to speak, to sustain, and to inspire.
It's a lot harder to blow out a thing when you have a mask. And now we welcome Diane with our land recognition.
Hi, I'm Diane Hammerand, a member of this congregation. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country on which our congregation's grounds are located, the Kickapoo, Peoria, Sauk, and Meskwaki, Miamiaki, and Oshikoshee, and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging.
Thank you.
Please rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn, 389, Gathered Here. This is a round. We will sing through it twice. On the second time through, feel free to start on whichever sentence you'd like. Repeat one over and over. Be creative. There are no wrong choices. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
Well, grand rising, ghouls, ghosts, and goblins. The spirits speak loudly on this day that helps us mark that we are entering the dark times of the year. The spirits speak to us in many ways, and they may even whisper to us in these hallowed halls. Now, that is to say, I haven't heard of any particular specters that float through this particular building, but UUs are not without our own ghost stories. I was surprised to find more than I could find space here for, so if you feel like a really fun rabbit hole deep dive, Google Unitarian ghost stories. It's kind of fun. But here is just a couple. Forgive me, I am a millennial and not that great with technology. Yeah. Okay. So first, we're going to go to a building not too far away, actually. First, we find ourselves at the Unitarian congregation of Alton, Illinois. We know that Unitarians have been gathering, loving, welcoming, and even haunting this building for more than a century. Built in 1854, the Unitarians purchased the land and even used some of the remaining stone of the Catholic Church that stood on this site previously. But, unfortunately, the Catholic Church burned to the ground, and the first incarnation of the Unitarian Church led a similar fate. It was, though, stated that passages in the lower level of the original Unitarian Church there was thought to be used as part of the Underground Railroad. The church was rebuilt in 1905 and housed another 115 years of Unitarians. In 1928, a man named Philip Mercer came to Alton and he became the reverend of that church. Not much was known about Reverend Mercer, as he seemed to keep to himself, but he was friendly and genuinely accepted. But peaceful times did not last long, and tragedy would strike again. But this time, it was death. In 1934, Reverend Mercer's body was discovered in this very church. Suspicion surrounded his death, as there was no note to believe that it may have been suicide. And where the body was discovered created more questions than answers. Since then, reports of hauntings in the building are decades long. That includes voices, people moving when the church is empty, shadow figures even being touched by unseen forces, and even an unwelcomed negative emotional responses such as crying occur without warning and without reason. One of the spirits believed to reside is Reverend Mercer. His spirit has been known to appear in photographs and even communicate with different paranormal teams that are allowed still to investigate this very church. I don't know if you know much about paranormal investigation, but one of the fancy things they use is called a spirit box. And it is said that they asked Reverend Mercer if they were bothering him, and to tell them to get out. And unfortunately, that phrase was never heard, but no was repeatedly heard, me believing that even in the afterlife, Unitarians are very hospitable. There is a negative entity that is believed to show itself from time to time, mainly in the lower level of this church, but a heavy and unwelcoming energy of this spirit has been felt by many, and some have even had to leave in terror. There's also been photographs of spirits that appear to be children that have been taken at this very church. No matter whoever or whatever lingers in the church, it appears to have a strong presence and is willing to show itself to anyone who dares visit. Next, we're going to go a little bit farther east to the Unitarian Church of Archdale in Charleston, South Carolina. This is one of the oldest UU churches in America. And in its untended garden, because we're Unitarians, so of course we let the plants grow as they do, there is a graveyard, and it is left untended on purpose. It gained its first official residence just after the end of the Revolutionary War. The church was dedicated in 1787 after construction was halted during the war and repairs were made following the war. This tangled and unkept greenery of more than this 200-year-old cemetery in the heart of the historic district is a place of quiet solitude. However, the voices of the dead still speak if you have the courage to enter. If you work up enough nerve to enter this sacred land, you may meet more than a few former members of our beloved community. At least 3 different souls are rumored to haunt this space, and one of them might actually surprise you. The most famous is a young woman said to be the inspiration for Edgar Allan Poe's last finished poem, Annabel Lee. It is widely known that Poe was stationed on Sullivan's Island in the early 1800s during his enlistment in the service. As the story goes, he met a younger girl named Anna, and the two were immediately in love. Some versions of the story say that the two would even secretly meet in the cemetery of the Unitarian Church, but they were forced to meet in secret because Anna was from a highbrow family, and the patriarch did not approve of his daughter's involvement with a serviceman. Before long, Poe, who was enlisted under the name Edgar Perry, was reassigned to a new post far, far away. Some believe that Anna's father pulled the strings to make this happen. Soon after, Anna became ill and died. Her father bought 6 side-by-side burial plots in this very cemetery, dug them all up, placing Anna's body in one, unmarked. Why? They say it is purely out of spite to Edgar, so he wouldn't be able to grieve for her at her grave. Today, visitors who see or sense Anna's ghost in the cemetery get the feeling that she's still waiting, after all this time, for one last kiss from the renowned and famously morose Mr. Poe. As I was researching these tales, it did beg me to wonder, what is it about a good ghost story or horror story that makes us gleeful for the goosebumps and crave the hair standing up on the back of our neck? I can't deny that I watch every ghost show I can find on myriad streaming services, from the truly terrifying to the colossally campy. And the selections this time of year are my favorite. And I know I'm not alone. Interestingly enough, I found that the answer to my initial query was actually quite simple. We seek out, love to experience, and share scary stories with our loved ones because it feels good and we like it. There is an idea from famed horror writer Stephen King that it helps us to feed our own dark side. He states, and quote, "It deliberately appeals to all that is the worst in us. It is morbidity unchained, our most base instincts set free, our nastiest fantasies realized, and it all happens, fittingly enough, in the dark." For those reasons, good liberals tend to shy away from horror films. For myself, I like to see the most aggressive Dawn of the Dead, for instance. It's like lifting a trap door in the civilized forebrain and throwing a basket of raw meat to the hungry alligators swimming below. Why bother? Because it keeps them from getting out, man. It keeps them down there and keeps me up here. It was Lennon and McCartney who said, all you need is love, and I would agree, as long as you keep the gators fed. End quote. Well, there is something to be said about the inherent light and dark side of every human. I tend to err more on the side of it's just fun. And oddly, it can also be helpful. Being terrifying can be exhilarating and addictive, says Irving Bierderman, a specialist in cognitive neuroscience from USC. When we evolve from the listener to the storyteller, we become elevated in our children's eyes as we remind them that yes, this is a story, but we watch the same reactions played out around the campfire and realize that those faces have changed, but the reactions are universal. End quote. Ghost stories fill us with fear and dread. A flood of fear paired with a relief of safety releases our naturally occurring opioids like endorphins and a good hit of dopamine. Tock Thompson, associate professor of anthropology at USC, says the monsters are us, in a sense. They are the very dangerous part of us, and it's good to recognize that. We get an excuse to curl up with our favorite people and make a spooky spark of connection. But when they're over, we get to return to our comfortable lives. Scary stories help us create community. They become a haven. We ride that lost rush of adrenaline and create memories on cool October nights with those we love. All right. So I, unlike Jay, don't have a cool quip for transitioning into offertory time. So give us some money, I guess. Happy Halloween. Oh yeah. If anyone would like to light a candle, you're more than welcome to join us. I know I'm forgetting something. In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrows with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we can offer comfort. We also share our joys with one another, knowing too that joy comes into all of our lives, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. All right, today, Susan Perry. I enjoyed hearing John Whitson sing with the Nova Singers 2 weeks ago and encourage everyone to attend their great and safe concerts. Wonderful. And Anne Harrington. It is my joy to announce my retirement from Hy-Vee after 31 years. Congratulations, that is a long time. I'm 38 years old, so that feels like a very long time to me. Okay. Not everything joy or sorrow can be shared openly in community. Some must be shared with eye to eye or held in our heart. We recognize further that some do not have voices with which to speak the depth of their pain or the height of their celebration. We make space each week for silent candle lighting, knowing the life and experience of every person here matters, and together our lights can shine brighter.
There's no ground when you fall for me. You'll be falling for mine. I'm bewitched by your misery, but I love it when you smile. Let me know what you want from me. Whisper low in my ears before you try to get your hooks in me. I should warn you, my dear, my heart is a haunted house. Once you're in, there ain't no getting out. It's the trap you've been waiting for. Ain't no windows, ain't no doors, no escaping from where you feel. It's like a dream, but you hope it's real. My heart. My heart is a haunted, haunted house. Watch your step when you walk to me. Careful where your heart treads. Suddenly you'll be in too deep. You'll be caught in my web. You think of me constantly. It will drive you insane. Like the tattoo you can't remove. Like the blood in your veins. My heart is a haunted house. Once you're in, you ain't getting out. It's the trap you've been waiting for. Ain't no windows and no doors. My heart is a haunted, haunted house.
So, with closing words today, I wanted to leave you with Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived who you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee. With a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted, her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee. So that her high-born kinsmen came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea could ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, and I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lay down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. If you'd like to join us as we extinguish our chalice. Oh, wait, is there another song? I'm sorry. Okay. I was like, wait, I'm missing something. Sorry.
Please rise in body and our spirit for our closing hymn, 1024. When the Spirit says do, we gotta sing, we gotta laugh, and then we gotta do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Lord, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You gotta, Spirit says laugh. You gotta laugh, oh Lord. You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. 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 You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Woo.
Before we extinguish the chalice, I wanted to leave you with a short story I found that I really liked. It was the shortest ghost story in the world by Abu Hassan. Do you believe in ghosts? No, I looked up to respond to my travel mate who had already disappeared. Stay spooky, my friends. Extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of unity, or the fire of divinity. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Have a good day.